The whistle had barely cooled when the Old Trafford stands turned the air into a harsh, thin thing, a mix of disbelief, a muttered howl, and 1,000 pairs of eyes searching for a replay in the sky. It took just 13 minutes. Declan Rice clipped a corner in from the left with the precision of a craftsman. The ball hung, a spinning moon, and for the briefest beat everything seemed exactly on cue. Then Bayindir, chosen over Andre Onana for reasons that would be dissected for days, pushed up into a crowd and got his palms to the ball only to watch it leak away like water from cupped hands. Riccardo Calafieri met it with a header from close range, and Old Trafford exhaled the kind of stunned silence that carries the taste of inevitability. The scoreboard changed to 0-1 and a season's first tiny fault line appeared in the earth beneath United's rebuild. That single frame, gloves grazing leather then letting it slip, became the locus for everything that followed: pundits' barbed sentences, fans' conspiracies, and a manager's uneasy defence. Ruben Amorim had offered a public logic for his choice. Bayindir had been sharp in pre-season, Onana only recently back in training, and sometimes reward follows form. The rationale was simple on paper. In practice, the life of a decision is messy and public. Amorim would later say he was happy with the 3 goalkeepers and that his selection was not a punishment but a measured risk. Still, a manager's risk is a coin toss in a stadium of humans, and when the coin lands on its edge, headlines gather like storm clouds. But the match was never only about a single saved or not saved ball. It was about contrast and irony. Manchester United had spent heavily to retool the attack, signings who arrived amid bright optimism and a promise of goals. Brian Mbeumo moved with the restless energy of someone aiming to prove a point. Matthias Cunha slashed into spaces with a striker's impatience. They created openings, quick bursts, slick combinations, moments that suggested the new front line could carry the club forward. They carried the stadium's hope forward too. Yet football is a ledger of cause and consequence, and while the forwards produced chances, they could not turn pressure into the scoreboard. United's new attacking glitter could not erase that early, quiet header that decided the day. Watching on the bench, Andre Onana's quiet, almost spectral presence added another layer. He had missed pre-season through injury and then been fit only late. Amorim said he wanted to back the keeper who did the work in summer. But the optics of a returning, established goalkeeper kept a spectator a brute. Across the turf, David Raya, in Arsenal colours, performed like a man with a personal mission. Reflex saves that kept United honest, the kind of goalkeeping display that reminds you a clean sheet, is often the work of a single steady presence as much as collective shape. Arsenal, despite not being at their fluent best, looked willing to grind and to take what the game offered, a clinical attribute in tight encounters. The narrative split itself, United creating, Arsenal conserving, Bayindir misjudging the corner, Calafieri nodding a season open. After full time, the press room smelled like heated cloth and exhaustion. Quotes fanned out into social feeds like kindling. Amorim couched the defeat in a larger argument. He saw progress in possession, pressure, expected goals and intent. "We proved today that we can win any game," he said, insisting the team's identity was moving in the right direction even if the results suggested otherwise. Bruno Fernandes echoed the frustration. Chances had been made, chances missed, and the glaring negative was the failure to score. Fans grumbled and debated, but what the manager's words revealed most was a confidence that felt either brave or brittle depending on your loyalty. For those who measure with results alone, the verdict is simple: 1 game, 1 loss, 1 glaring error. For the long-view analysts, it's the conundrum of a rebuild that can flirt with promise but still trip over the simplest test. You could trace the consequences instantly. A goalkeeper debate simmering into the transfer window, conversations in corridors about whether to buy a new voice in the penalty area, whether Onana's status needs reassertion, whether Bayindir deserves time to learn from the limelight, or is a stopgap whose cost is measured in points, and the summer's spending, the headline figure of the new forward line, suddenly felt both necessary and insufficient. Money bought movement, athleticism and hope, but the sport is arrogantly equal. Defensive lapses erase creative investments just as easily as finishing restores. The image of a palmed ball drifting to a waiting head will be replayed until it hardens into law. For United, it becomes a test: react, retrench or double down on the choices that brought them here. In the stands and beyond, the emotional geography of the club shifted. Some supporters saw Amorim's gamble as part of a bigger experiment, a willingness to trust a squad and not panic at the first stumble. Others read it as the sort of tactical misread that can haunt seasons, picking form over pedigree, instinct over the gravitational pull of reputation. Arsenal left Manchester having taken a small cold prize, a 1-0 victory that felt larger because it came on foreign soil and because it exposed a vulnerability in a team that still needs stitching. Calafiori's goal will be a short news cycle for them, a clean bite of joy to carry on a long campaign. For United, it is a question in the dark. Does the manager stick to his plan, or does the club move to alter the ingredients? The truth, messy and human, is somewhere between hubris and hope. Football loves a clear turning point, and in the opening weekend Old Trafford found itself at 1. There will be matches to come, chances to convert, and perhaps an apology goal that proves all was premature. There will also be tough conversations in training rooms, scouting offices and at dinner tables about whether a single choice, who stands in goal on a Sunday in August, can ripple through a season. For now, the image remains: a corner, a fumbled palm, a header that split the day in two. Whoever writes the next chapter, manager, goalkeeper or boardroom, will know exactly where the story started to bend.